Let us have some introduction to geographic information systems. In geographic information system, we talk about spatial data, which can be described according to its entity. That is, it has to be a distinct object like river. The attributes of the entity, like what is the characteristic of a river, discharge of water is there, and what are the relationship with different objects in GIS. So we have drainage basin as the linkage among objects. What are the advantages of digital maps over paper? More often and mostly spoken, easier to produce, easier to store, easier to distribute, and it has a dimensional stability all through. And topology, what is a topology when we talk about GIS? The mathematics of spatial relationships. Spatial means the distance measurement and all. The mathematics of spatial relationships among point, line and area objects. We'll cover it more in detail. And what will be the map? A graphical representation of the spatial structure of physical and or cultural environments. There are various types of maps. Maps are basically the abstractions, since they present the real world in a simplified, understandable fashion at a reduced scale. And why we use map? For display of spatial data and then analysis of this spatial data. And when we talk about GIS, we talk about cartography. It is an art and science of map making. And what are the basic consideration of a cartographer? Map scale, data classification, symbolization and generalization. So map scale, it is a ratio between distance measured on a map and the corresponding distance measured on the ground. Actual distance, this is the actual distance and this is the distance which has been put on a map representing this particular location distance. Large scale map displays a smaller area in greater detail, but small scale map displays a larger area in a lesser detail. So the pros use of map is critical in determining the scale at which it is produce. Large scale, small scales depending upon the usage. And methods for describing map scale, it is RF, called representative fraction, 1 is to this number, that one particular unit on the map represent this particular unit in as actual. And graphically, also verbal, 1 inch equals 1 mile. And what will be the classification of maps? Certain are reference maps like general purpose, then thematic maps for special purpose, having certain theme. What is the process adopted in mapping? Planning stage, data acquisition stage, cartographic production stage, and then product delivery stage. In planning stage, some certain assessment is done, then project specification are established, that is what will be the cost, what will be the timing. And then data acquisition stage, primary data or secondary data, what data is required, what will be represented. And finally cartographic production, designing, drafting, proofing and printing, and then giving it to the user. And georeferencing, so the representation of the location of real world features within the spatial framework of a particular coordinate system. That is, you have an image of certain place, it has no location information, so putting a location information which fits that particular image on a particular area which was taken is georeferencing. The relationship between coordinate systems and map projections. Map projections define how position on the Earth curved surface are transformed on a flat map surface, and coordinate systems provide a referencing framework by which positions are actually measured and computed. Then coming to plane coordinate systems, plane rectangular systems like Cartesian XY, and plane polar coordinates are cos theta, r sin theta type of polar coordinates. Then Cartesian system, x-axis, easting, y-axis, northing. The figure is somewhat like this, x or y, first quadrant, second quadrant, as we learned in our earlier mathematics classes. And polar coordinate system, as I told you, that we have r, or there is a distance, and cos theta, sin theta along with that, and positive angles are measured in clockwise direction from polar axis. Conversions, one can convert from plain rectangular coordinate to plain polar coordinates using basic trigonometric functions. And talking about GCS, Geographic Coordinate System, we have latitude, longitude. Latitude means angular distance north or south of baseline, that is with respect to the equator, and longitude is the angular distance east or west of baseline with reference to the prime meridian. In graphical, grid of latitude and longitude lines, parallels and meridians on a map or globe. And map projection, what it says, there are two definitions. It is a systematic representation of all or part of the surface of a round body, especially the earth, on a plane. And what did Vesperman said? A two-dimensional spatial rendition, or you can say a condition of a earth surface. Then spatial properties of a map, that is projection. It has area, direction, distance and shape. And projection type, if the projection type is equal area or equivalent, we say it preserves area. Conformal means it preserves shape, and equidistance means it preserves the distance. And map projection types, a developable surface is one that can be laid flat without distortion. It may be cylindrical, conical or planar. Map projection aspect, it describes the orientation of the developable surface relative to the globe. Developable surface means you put a light source inside a globe and then wrap these developable surface on to that globe, and wherever it creates an image, then open it, that is, you can develop that surface. That is why these are called developable surface. Normal, axis of the cylinder or cone parallel to the axis. Transverse, that is, axis of a cylinder or cone is perpendicular to the earth axis, and oblique. Normal is this, transverse is this, oblique is this. Okay. Map projection viewpoints, these are genomic, orthographic or stereographic. Genomic, light source at center of globe, as I mentioned just now, and great circles are straight lines. Orthographic, light source are at infinity and equal areas are preserved. And stereographic, light source are far side of globe, planar are conformal, cylindrical are compromised. Ellipsoid, the earth is not a sphere, we know it, but an oblate spheroid being slightly depressed at the poles. Satellite based observation have allowed for the development of global standard of mathematical model. Geoid, reference surface for vertical coordinates, is above or below the datum, equivalent to mean sea level in the Earth's ocean, and determined by equal gravimetric potential, that is, equal potentials, equipotential surfaces. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.